Is the exterior of your home or business covered in dirt, mildew, or mold? Driveway or walkway stained? Pressure King can make your siding, deck, vents, and concrete look new again with no damage. Pressure King has cleaned the exterior of houses and businesses all over Sumter County area. Usually it takes less than a day and costs less than you would expect. Call AJ at 352-457-7209. All right. Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Goblay Show. I'm your host, Billy, and we got this is a special edition. We're in Pittsburgh right now, and I have a former Pittsburgh Pirate and Rocky and Cardinal and a whole bunch of other guys, but we're going to get into that later. But right now, I want to welcome to the show Mr. Michael McKenry. Fort, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Welcome to Pittsburgh.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a good time of year. I guess a good time of year. I sound like a Yinzer right there. Wow.
Yinzer.
Whoa. Man, I'm from Tennessee. That can't be happening this fast. Just moved here. But it's a good time. I think to be in Pittsburgh, you get a little bit of everything. I mean, I think it was 45, 50 yesterday. And then all of a sudden it snowed. It's just random. But it's a good time to be here. I feel like you get the real Pittsburgh vibe with the kind of Batman sky. Yep. It's kind of overcast every single day. For me, I kind of like it.
Overcast and snowy. We did the incline yesterday.
Yeah, how was it? Were you a little scared?
It was a little sketchy.
What about your little guy? Was he a little?
Oh, he loved it.
He did.
He loved.
He wanted to hang out outside, going down like Superman.
He goes, why don't we just go up the tracks
like Spider-Man?
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's great.
But he wanted to go from, well, we started up on top of Mount Washington. So he's like, we're going down. So he's like, we sat up front so we could get the better view. And then on the way going up, he's like, let's go in the back, which is now the front. And he's like, oh, no, there's nowhere to sit. And I'm like, so just pick a spot and let's sit down. But he's like remember the old cartoon, the Ricochet Rabbit, the bing, 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 bing?
Yeah.
He's like that. He's like we call him a blonde Muppet. He's all over the place.
Blonde Muppet. That's pretty good.
So we did that, and he enjoyed that. But we got back up on Mount Washington, and we did the overlook, and it's snowing. I mean, it's really coming down, as I say, when it snows. Every time it snows, it could be 2 flakes. I mean, it's really coming down. So we did that yesterday. And
that's what happens when you move to Florida.
Well, yeah. Well, I was born and
raised.
Yeah,
okay.
Born and raised. Yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised in Florida. I had sand. You come out sandy. That's how.
Right?
I'm just kidding. That's a beach reference. But I just wanted to thank you for coming out today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you got some things that you're working on right now, and I know it's not postseason, but it's off season for the Pirates. And I know a lot of people out there, if you don't know who Michael McKenry is, he's the what is your job title officially? I don't want to miss.
To make it short, I'm part of the color analyst team with the Pirates, and also a pre and post game analyst. Used to be AT&T, now it's Nesson or Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Gotcha. So continually changes, but I just like talking ball.
Gotcha. Used to be Root Sports back in the.
Back in the day. Very first time. Really cool story. If you want me to get into it real quick. When I was a kid, I was terrified to speak in front of people because I had 2 learning disabilities. And Robbie Inspikowski, he's the guy that does all the on-field stuff. God rest his soul, because he just got fired. I hate to see that. And he didn't pass away, but
I was going to say,
in the media side, he did. He was incredible at what he did, but he saw some potential in me, and he asked if I would be willing to fill in for Colvey, who's a Hall of Fame member of the Pirates. Yes. They call him the Rubber Band Man. If you see him, you'll understand why. He's kind of built. He's got a belly now, but he's got that slingy sidearm rubber band type throwing motion. So I said, Robbie, I don't know, man. I'm just not really into doing that much from the camera. He's like, no, you do a great job with us. I think you'll be great at it. I went home, I asked my wife, I was like, what do you think? She's like, you have to do it. She's a communications major, and she's like, you have to do it. I was like, I have to do it? Really? Well, she says I have to do it, I have to do it. So I did it.
Got to.
Mom also kind of pushed. So I ended up doing it. I was supposed to do one day, I ended up doing 10. And during a very dark time, because I just tore up my knee. It was during the 2013 season where we ended up going to the playoffs, the wild card game, which is absolutely famous. I'm sure we'll talk about, but it was a moment that kind of put my mark into the business. And then years and years later, they called, and that's what, gave me a chance to interview as I was walking away from playing. So you never know what could happen in a very dark time. And that's something that was very, very precious to me. That entire group at Root Sports was still there for the most part. So I knew most of the people there. I came back to Pittsburgh. I live here now. I've made it home. So that one moment in my life, just to say yes. And I always tell kids and guys I mentor, I always say, hey, the power of yes is incredible. If you'll just say yes, you never know what can happen. You don't have to understand what you're doing. You don't have to be good at it. But if somebody's willing to take that chance, just go. Like, just show up and go, and you never know what could happen. And it's literally changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, I'm in Pittsburgh, not in Tennessee, and I call this place home, and I'm very excited to call it home.
I love it that you call it home, because I call it home, and even though I've never lived here,
even though you got sand in your britches,
that's absolutely right. Yeah, and it's there is no trick to keep that out of there. It's there. But I've got friends. My mother lived in. She was born in East Liverpool, right on the river in Ohio. But,
which I didn't realize that's all connected. Like, you might as well say you're from Pittsburgh. If you're anywhere near the river, you're just from Pittsburgh. Period.
She has got Ohio River in her blood. Born in Ohio in East Liverpool, literally like across the street, the bridge. You got to cross the river.
You mean there's a bridge? There's a couple of those. How many? Do you know how many? I think there's like 300, I believe. Is that right? We need to look that up.
We can look that up. Definitely look that up. But there's only 2 where she lived now, and one of them is down. And from what my family that we went to visit, they're very bitter about it. They're like, it's the Chester. Bridge.
They're bitter about the bridge.
Well, it's closed. You can't get over it.
Well, that's not a bridge.
So then it's not a bridge.
Yeah, that's a toll road.
So second place is the Newell Bridge, which is a toll booth.
Jeez, they took them both away.
It cost $1.
That's why you live in Pennsylvania, not Ohio, I guess,
right.
huh?
That's right. You can come on the other side of East Liverpool and
by boat. Is that the only way you get over here?
Yeah, by boat.
Got to get a buoy and jump on it and.
What are those? It's the big oil rigs, the barges.
Oh, it's the barge. That works.
You gotta take a barge over there.
Yeah, you come over and you're just full of coal. Yeah, instead of sand.
The coal's more.
That's how you got here. I get
valuable.
it now.
That was a long
time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Explains a lot, though.
It was a long trip, I'll tell you. But I forgot what we were saying.
It doesn't matter. That was great.
Oh, I was telling how we got here. So anyways, then my mom moved down to actually they went on vacation down to Florida, and she was about 13, and they decided, my grandparents were just like, hey, we're not coming back. We're kids, stay with
they became instant snowbirds.
Instant. And they had grandma watch the kids. You got to think about it in today's world. You're like, there's no way. But grandma watched them. And they went back up here, sold the houses, and just came to Florida.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's a way to live life.
It is. I'm glad they did it, because I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't be who I am. But yeah, it's what a way to. I mean, that's her story of going down here. But
that's called trust and faith.
Literally, you have to take that first step.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes you don't know where that step. How far you have to step out, but it's one of those deals where you have to. Where we are in our coaching, our football coaching in high school, we say trust the process.
No doubt.
So, and I'm sure everybody else might say that as well, but that's our phrase as well. It's like, just when you think everything's gone wrong, why can we change something up, or just trust the process? Just get this where you need it, tweak it a little bit, and. Just go on, keep moving.
You know what's funny when you say that is I think about a lot of the kids I work with. Been very fortunate. last couple of years to get involved with USA Baseball and work with some elite talent. And how many kids don't have a plan?
Yeah.
And then they don't have a process because they don't have a plan.
Right.
And then you find out they don't really even have a goal.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling to me when you don't have just one, small goals,
right,
or just this giant Jupiter-sized planet goal that you're trying to reach towards. Because,
right,
if you're striving for that, you're probably going to at least hit something.
right.
And it's probably going to be better than nothing that you have in your plans now because you have no plans. I never in a million years thought, being 38, mentoring guys that, are kind of all ages, even older than me at times. And how many times guys just don't have any idea where they want to go. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But how they don't even look to where they want to go. Yeah. They're not looking and having a process and trusting the process of like, what are my next steps?
Right.
What do I need to be learning and growing in to try to figure out where I want to be? And
right.
It's
Absolutely.
It's something that I think is almost an epidemic right now in today's society of, what do you want to do and how are you going to get there? And can you get there? And are you willing to put in the work to get there? And you're going to answer those questions and have a better understanding of where you're at in today's moment than you have in probably years. And it'll give you a direction, which will create that process.
Right.
But a lot of times we won't do it. So we'll just hold on. And we would never move to Florida and trust that that's going to happen. But yeah, so often what we're so scared of isn't real. It's just a fear that we've made up in our mind instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to be okay. Let me just take this leap and see what happens and trust what's right in front of me. I'm going to be with my family and be with my friends.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have faith. For me, it's my creator. But you just look at it and say, I got this. This is going to be okay.
Do you know what fear, the acronym for fear is?
I'd love for you to tell me.
Fear is fictional experiences appearing real.
Truth.
So if you are focused on things that haven't happened yet, or you have no control over, you are missing out on the things that, you could be partaking in or learning or whatever you're doing. I mean, it's people get comfortable, I think. They get complex and they go, I don't want to do that. Look at athletes, student athletes, just say student athletes. Go to a local high school. There's one guy, maybe 2 or 3 guys that will put the work in, bust his butt, and keep grinding. And then you got the other kids, they want to do the same. They want to go down the same street, but they're not willing to put in the work. So
parlay that with how many guys make it to the next level at an elite level.
Absolutely.
So 1 to 2 to 3.
1 to 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think football's. Someone said 3% or maybe 1%.
It vastly drops off.
Right.
It's like falling off a cliff every single level. But yeah, you think about it. Every time you go to the next level, the best of the best are moving with you.
Right.
And talent will take you so far. But you're exactly right. Like high standards, high morals, high values will take you further than anything else. And if you're willing to put in the work on top of that, game changer.
There's also an old saying that says a goal without a plan is
just a wish.
Wish.
Dream, same.
Wish. Yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Yep. So absolutely, it's one of those things where, going back to what I said about, I'll just do half of it right now. And that's not how you move or grow as a person, as an athlete, or as a person.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example because you don't know him. We have I always say a kid, but he's a grown man now. He's 29.
That's when you know you're getting older.
I know.
This young man.
This kid. Keanu Neal, he plays for the.
Oh yeah, we go way back.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Steelers. But when he was in high school, he did everything precisely. Like just not even just football, but like I'll give you an example. When he ran track, it would take him. The coaches always joke with him like it takes you 3 hours to warm up.
Was it kind of OCD-ish? Not saying he had OCD, but
yeah, I don't know. I think because his older brother played for the Chargers.
Okay,
and I think he told him, look,
it was diligent.
This is what you need to do. He kind of gave him that plan, and he'll tell you to this day, he's like, yeah, man, he was a middle schooler when he was in the pros, and they come to the game. He's like, look, do you see where I'm at? Do you want to be here? Then you need to put in the work. You need to put in the time, grind it out, do all these things to get where I am. Because it's not given. I mean,
nothing's given.
Nothing's given. And you can kind of be in a situation where luck puts you in the right place.
But what's luck?
I knew you were going to say that. And I agree with you. Yeah. It's not really luck, but we like to say luck because we don't want to give credit.
Where preparation meets opportunity.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that, but it's funny how, but nowadays you do see more kids. When I was you're saying you're just a little bit younger than I am, but when we were kids, did you ever hear of anybody going to travel ball or did you hear of anybody doing like, hey man, I'm going to go work with this guy and hit balls? And
it was just becoming a thing. It wasn't I don't know, an oligarchy.
Yeah.
Like it is now.
Yeah.
You're paying someone to help you, and you're paying someone that wants you to rely on them. And I think that's something that's forgotten. Most of the teachers I had, most of the things we went to win one,
right.
Which has become a dying breed in the participation trophy era. Not that if you're into that, great, like go do that. But there should be levels to what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be an elite athlete, you are going to lose. You need to learn how to lose. You need to learn how to fail. Right. If you're not failing, you're not trying, period.
That's right.
And
I agree with that.
You take that that reality into a cage, start working with somebody. If they're not teaching how to become your best teacher, because you can read any book, and one of my favorite books is The Art of War, right? Who do you want to be? You want to be a sensei.
Right.
Does the sensei want to be the almighty where they go to? No, he has an almighty. He wants to be the guy that pours into you so you're better than him.
Right.
And that's the goal as a coach, right? That's what you try to do every day.
That's right.
Every person you coach, you're like, man, I hope I can give him just a millennium of answers that I didn't have.
Right.
Right. And that's the whole thing. But we don't do that in today's society. It's like we hold on. Oh, you have to get the next course. You have to come the next time.
Right.
Instead of, no. I want to be an oil change for you.
Right.
You come by every couple of weeks. I'll change oil. But eventually I want to teach you how to change oil because you're going to have an engine light come on. We got to figure that out after that. Because I always use an analogy. Kids are cars. They can't identify what car they are. Most of the time they think they're a Lamborghini, but they're a Honda Civic.
Right.
Be the Honda Civic.
Right.
Do you know how many upgrades you can have?
Right.
And then eventually you can trade that baby in and get your Lamborghini, but we have to see if we can get there and what it's going to take.
Right. Just be the best Honda Civic you can be.
Be the best version of you that you can be right now.
Right.
Identify with that. And Clint Hurdle always said, be a great self-identifier.
Right.
And if you're honest with that, where that can take you is mind-boggling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't be me and I can't be you.
Exactly. And you have attributes that I wish I had, and vice versa. And that's the cool part about it.
Yeah.
And we were talking right before we got on here about you love setting up the equipment. I hate setting up this equipment.
Right.
I'm in this world, but I like editing and you don't like editing.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. Like we're all wired a little different.
Yeah.
Editing slows me down. This stuff speeds me up.
Right.
So I don't want to be sped up because I'm already a little bit of a, what'd you say? A Muppet.
A blonde Muppet?
I'm a dark head Muppet bouncing off the walls.
Man, you got to see Jason in action, man. He's just crazy.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Literally a Muppet. I'm like, I feel like I'm waiting for something to pop up. So what I do for most of my guests and on my podcast back in Florida, when I'm doing the people around the community and stuff, it's a lot of alumni from our high school athletes.
Oh, cool.
Just to kind of shine some light on those guys that helped pave the way.
I love that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I really do. Like I have a deep desire to tell the Pirates alumni stories. You know, I think it's so important because I think it's easy to forget, you know, what's right in front of you, what you're doing or what you're involved in, how it was even created.
Right.
You know, where did these traditions come? Right. It's so easy to forget about history.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, like at our school, we had a coach come in he was from Kentucky, came to Florida, helped change and evolve our culture as far as athletics go. He was the athletic director, also the head football coach.
Cool.
totally took a lump of clay and molded we're not a dynasty or anything, but we call ourselves Raider Nation. We're the Raiders, but it's not like the Oakland Raiders. I don't even know how to even begin that story, but it's our mascot was just like it. I think we were the Rebels at one time and the Gators. And so late 60s, they're like, all right, we're going to change some things around here. So I think they became the Raiders.
Cool.
They kind of blended it. So anyways, he comes in the mid 80s, now, not saying our football team wasn't any good before that, but it was one of those deals where he came in, totally changed the clientele, the culture, how we did things, pieces from all over brought guys in, and totally made this powerhouse football team. Just to give you an idea of how successful we are now, he has retired since I think 2016 or 2015.
But it's carried on, hasn't it?
It's carried on. Our head coach now was the defensive coordinator. So we kept everything inside, kept it in the family. But our first game this upcoming football season, we have to go to the Panhandle. We live in Central Florida. We have to go to the Panhandle because it's hard to find people to play. So we're like anybody. So these teams will come and they're like, hey, well, if you don't mind coming to all the way up to near Panama City, actually, it's Niceville they call it. If you don't mind coming up here, we'll play you guys. Yeah. So our first game, we're on the road and we're going to the Panhandle, and it's like, really?
You're the big bad wolf.
I mean, that's kind of what our mentality is we try to keep everything together. Our coaches been together a lot of coaches have been there for a while, but we've also got ex-players that played 10, 15 years ago. They're back. They're out of college. They're back. They come back.
For me, that's the ultimate sign of a great program.
Oh, yeah.
When they keep coming back.
Yep.
Yeah.
They come back. Not only that, they come back. We've got kids that'll come back on, again, I say kids, young men come back on Friday nights. We'll have a playoff game. Keanu, we call him Kiki. He's playing at Tampa one night, had a night off. He came to our game. That just means the world to these young kids.
Yeah.
And not just the ones on the field, but the ones that are. See, I don't know if you had this growing up in your high school, but our head coach now, Coach Tyler Lawrence, he likes to say, "There's the game field, which has got something going on, but the real game is over on the side where the kids are playing."
No doubt. They're dreaming to be Kiki.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. So he says, we got that going on.
I love that.
Yeah. So we just got a brand new field. It's turf field. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. When you watch film, it's like, is that our school? Had a great facility from there before that, but it was just got a brand new stadium, brand new turf field, tracks expanded. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses as well. I think we're a 2A school, but see down in Florida.
Florida goes up to what, 6A?
6 or 7, I think
okay.
It is, yeah. But they did a thing now where they've got rural, metropolitan, and suburban.
Cool.
So we're in a, but by the numbers, we're not rural anymore. We used to be, but by the numbers, because we have a retirement village 10 miles from our school. It's called the Villages. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Oh my gosh, guys, he's never heard of the Villages. I had to go to Wyoming before at Thanksgiving break, and I asked somebody if they ever heard of the Villages. They said no. I just wanted to hug them because it's one of those things where.
Is this the place where everybody has golf carts?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard of it. My brother but it's just been recent.
Okay.
Just been recent.
Yeah, a lot of retirees go down there. A lot of there's a lot of all these older, there's some athletes that move in there, like old baseball players. I don't know how far you go back with baseball, but I got to meet Craig Anderson. He played for the Mets. They had like a little baseball sign. He made a stat ball. He was sweet spot. He's over here. He's like last pitcher to pitch at the Polo Grounds.
Oh, he's digging himself. I love it.
It was great. He's like,
as you get older, I've heard you kind of start digging yourself like that. I hope I don't, but good for him. I love it because I mean it's special.
Yeah.
Anybody that plays professionally, it is very special.
He did tell me, however, he said, I don't want to see this ball on eBay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I said, sir, you have my promise.
I never tell another man how to use his balls. Yeah, he can do whatever he wants with his balls.
Okay, yeah.
You'll forever remember that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm never going to forget that. Okay, yeah. Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Travelin' Tom's Coffee Truck, the delicious mobile coffee truck that brings you the caffeination inspiration you need. We deliver signature coffee products like our Nitro Cold Brew and Caramel Frappe to any occasion or festivity. And for those who don't like coffee, we offer a variety of delicious hot chocolates, energy drinks, lemonades, and teas. That's Travelin' Tom's Coffee Truck. What I was trying to get at before I kind of ran off the tracks a little bit.
I do want to say something about what you're saying about culture.
Sure.
Vanderbilt baseball does something. I don't know if you ever heard this.
Yeah.
They have an alumni locker room. Coach Corbin, very high regard in the baseball community. I've looked up to him since I was a kid. I actually wanted to go to Clemson because he was the assistant coach, believe it or not the head coach.
Gotcha.
But he took the Vanderbilt job. But he's built a culture to where he doesn't really have to do much anymore.
Gotcha.
Because David Price has a locker. Pedro Alvarez has a locker.
The Bull.
Yeah. All these guys that played, I mean, you can go on and on. I mean,
right.
we have plenty of guys that played at Vanderbilt that are in the big leagues. But knowing that those guys are coming back, they're coming back just about every off season, whether to live in Nashville or to just train there.
Absolutely.
When they are in Nashville, that's special.
Right.
And if you're in a recruit or you're somebody that wants to play in the major leagues, what better place to go than somewhere where you're going to run into a guy that's won MVP, a guy that's been a Cy Young, a guy that's won a World Series. So you can learn things that maybe you couldn't learn. And I would say even more importantly are the guys that didn't make it.
Gotcha.
That he puts lockers up.
Gotcha.
That aren't the MVPs.
Yeah.
That it's because those guys feel important.
Oh, yeah.
And how often, I'm an alumni and a Hall of Famer in my high school and college. And, you want to be a part of things, but you want to feel like they want you a part of it. And it's very easy to get caught up in the moment and not think about the past and how we got here. Vanderbilt, by far, does as good as I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
So I thought that would mean a lot to you, especially talking about the alumni. Because if you could do that at a high school level,
oh my gosh,
think about that. I mean, it would just be a game changer. You have all your dudes that are playing Division I football. They're coming back and training during the winter break.
Absolutely.
They're coming back training during the summer or whatever have you. I mean, that's special.
It's funny you say that because that is absolutely what happens is we've got
and that's why you keep up with the Joneses, right?
Absolutely.
You keep that facility nice. They want to come back.
Absolutely. They want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
They want to come back. They want to use – we have a beautiful weight room.
And how much do you learn from them? The guys coming back.
Oh, you learn a lot from them.
I'll never forget when I would train in the off season, my high school coach who was at a new high school, CAK, that's where I went and hit.
Gotcha.
I got really close with him. I look up to him. He's just an absolute incredible human being. But he would come in and just watch for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Watch us hit, watch us throw, watch us talk. He would occasionally ask a question, but he would just come in and just soak in every bit he could. Right. And I can't tell you the culture we built with that and how many guys kept coming back. I mean, at one point it was myself, Brett Carroll, Jan Gomes, JP Arancibia, Luke Hochaver. We're all in there, and he's just soaking it in day after day.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's just a couple names.
Yeah, that's a special thing.
None of them went to that high school, by the way.
Oh, really?
None of them had him as a coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why the culture was so cool. We were all working out together, and we needed a place.
Yeah.
It was close, so we all went there, and it became the place.
Yeah, it's like I was, and that makes it special even more that you didn't even go to that school.
Right.
Right.
That man brought me there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I looked up to him. He was great. It was very inviting.
Right.
It was a space we needed. So because of what impact he had on me in high school, I didn't go back to my high school. I went to where he was.
Right.
I mean, that's what you said. I mean, the guy was the athletic director and the football coach. He built a culture, and he brought in the right people to hold those high standards of values.
Right.
Well, if he left, I'm sure a lot of people would follow.
They would follow
right?
him.
Because he's a leader of men, and that's exactly how Tommy Farr was.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and it only takes one person
No doubt.
to do that.
To create that little ripple.
That's right. That's right. I like to say plant that seed.
I love it.
Yeah, little
my wife uses seeds a lot. I love it.
Yeah. So our kids will come back. They use the weight room. We have a young man, Carson Wells. He played at Colorado. He played linebacker at Colorado. He didn't get drafted.
Prime time.
Yeah, that was before prime. And yeah, he. I always like to. I like to give him a hard time because I'm like, hey, now Colorado's getting all the recognition. You guys didn't have anybody calling. ESPN didn't come see you. They
didn't have prime.
Pat McAfee didn't come, and or The Rock, or all these celebrities coming out there now. I'm like, man,
he's brilliant, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Primetime's brilliant.
Oh, I do. Listen, I love Deion.
What he's doing is, I don't think people get it yet. They will in a couple years.
No, it makes me chuckle. I was in Giant Eagle during the trip, and they had the magazines, and it says he was the. Was it the coach of the year or the man of the year? And I'm like, he was 4-9 or 4.
Yeah, but
I see what they were doing.
The man of the year, yeah, maybe not coach of the year, but yeah, man of the year. You look at what he did for that university,
right?
I mean, single-handedly, just completely flipped that program around.
Oh, no doubt.
And if it was anybody else, he wouldn't be getting. I mean, the teams he played, right? Yeah. And I mean, just wait.
Funny story about Deion, real quick. Did you know that he'll never sign primetime on a baseball?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he will sign primetime football. You can always find a football with him with that inscription on it. But for a baseball, he said you will never. Now he'll do the Sanders with the dollar sign, but you will never see a baseball that says primetime on it.
And why? I could imagine why, because he's very humble when he talks about baseball.
Baseball was his second sport.
Yeah.
And
he said he never conquered it either.
No.
Which I think is incredible for him to say.
Well, I always think, I used to watch a lot of basketball, and Dwight Howard, as good as he was, of course, he was in Orlando, and we loved Dwight Howard before he went to LA. But he I think it was I want to say it was either Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell. I can't remember which one it was. This was obviously years ago, but they said something about him, and he said, "I'm only at 20%," and I'm like, 20%, and you're like a beast, but he's only at 20%. Imagine would he be at 80% or 40%? But to humble yourself down and say, "I'm only at 20%." He could take the low road, I guess it is, and be like, "Well, I'm one of those guys. That's just what I do." But he was like, "No, I'm gonna." Of course, like I said, this is before he went to LA.
Yeah.
He went to LA and all bets were off.
Yeah,
fair enough. See you, Shaq. I don't know why we lose all our guys.
Yeah,
the Lakers.
Money.
Oh yeah, and I know how attractive LA is for people.
Well, the business side of it. I mean, that's why LeBron went there.
Absolutely.
I mean, he didn't go there to win more championships. He went there to grow LeBron.
Right.
And there's so much power in that.
Right.
And you have to pick and choose. He's going to be the greatest player that ever walked the planet.
Right.
Maybe not the greatest competitor, but the greatest player. I mean, he's going to have all the accolades possible. I don't care about the Michael Jordan, LeBron James arguments. Michael Jordan always wins to me. But when you talk about single best player that ever walked the planet and picked up a basketball, it's going to be LeBron James. And it's not because he won more championships or anything else. It's because he's built LeBron James up in a way that you can't even understand or fathom.
Right.
And he did it kind of in parallel. He built his brand. At the same time, he built his charity. And at the same time, he's building an immaculate career.
I agree with you on the Jordan thing, though.
Yeah.
He's always going to be my favorite.
There's only one Jordan.
That absolutely.
Kobe's the closest thing next to him.
Kobe is the closest thing.
Well, it goes like this. If I'm picking a team, I want the guy that's going to take a bullet.
Absolutely.
And Jordan's going to take a bullet. Kobe's going to take a bullet. I don't know if LeBron James would take a bullet for me if I'm on the same team as him. I would take a bullet for him. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going to always pick the guy that's going to be in the trenches with me, thick or thin. And those guys showed it over and over again. Right, wrong, or indifferent. If you liked him, if you didn't, doesn't matter. Everybody wanted to be their teammate.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And Jordan was just so competitive. And I'm not saying LeBron's not competitive, but Jordan,
a different type of competitive.
It was
like you said earlier on, we're all different.
Yep.
And LeBron is a freak.
Yeah.
Right? Jordan wasn't.
No, Jordan had it up. Like
he had it everywhere.
I agree.
Like, but wasn't blessed with 6'9.5", 255, 260, where you hit him, it feels like you get hit by a dump truck.
True.
So at 18.
Yeah, and you want to talk about difference in fairness on bodies and stuff.
Shoot.
I mean, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Webster Ace Hardware and Farm Supply are generous sponsors for today's podcast. They have been a family-owned business for 27 years. This helpful hardware store sells items such as archery, Ariat clothing and boots, Wrangler jeans, case knives, Hammond's candies, and live fishing gear. They also have a full selection of hardware, RV supply, propane, Ben Moore, Royal & Clark, and Kingston paints. You need a barn or fencing job done? Custom barn kits and roofing metal are provided at your local Ace Hardware store. What about a new grill for the yard? Traeger, Big Green Egg, Weber, and Blackstone are found here, along with all the accessories to go with them. Stock up your workshop with DeWalt, Milwaukee, or Craftsman tools. They got you covered. Remember to go to ace.com to shop their entire line to have items shipped directly to the store. We're gonna start with, like, did you just play only baseball, or did you play any other sports growing up?
I played other sports. I loved just being outside.
Yeah.
In Tennessee, football wasn't as big. Growing up, University of Tennessee was everything. I grew up in the Peyton Manning era, Todd Helton era, and they won a national championship when I was a kid, '98 with T. Martin.
Oh yeah, T. Martin.
So yeah, football was big when it came to college football, but high school football really hadn't kicked off. So I didn't get into football. I did want to punt, which I'll talk about just in a second. I loved basketball. Basketball was my first love.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a height challenged, and when I was a sophomore, I'm going out. I was going to be either a starter or maybe the sixth man on varsity as a sophomore. I could shoot, I could run, I could jump. For a kid that was 5'9" and white, I could move around pretty good.
Yeah.
And I loved being down low. So I loved the physicality. I was, they called me man child when I was, 12 to about 15 because I was fully developed. I was fully grown.
Yeah.
But my coach told me I couldn't catch bullpens. And immediately I said, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand why I couldn't do something that didn't get in the way. Wouldn't let me catch bullpens. Didn't want me hitting in the afternoon with the baseball team. It wasn't affecting me on the court. So because of that, I didn't do that. So I decided, hey, you know what? I played soccer in 8th grade. I was a goalie. I really enjoyed it. But in Tennessee, baseball and soccer overlapped.
Gotcha.
All my friends played soccer growing up. I'd say about 90% of my friends were elite soccer players. They played overseas, some really, really good soccer players.
Very cool.
My senior year, 1, 2 in the nation were my high school and rival high school. The year before, they were 1 and 2. We won state championship my senior year with the soccer team. It's the coolest thing ever.
Oh,
they weren't supposed to win. They beat our rival high school. We'd have 10,000 people at a soccer game.
Oh, my gosh.
So it was really, really cool. Wow. Bearden and Farragut. So I loved soccer because of those guys. They always used to just pummel me. So they're like, just come play goalie for us. And I did. Only did it for a season because of baseball. I had to figure out how to balance that. But it made me understand, hey, maybe I could kick. So I knew the Colquitts.
Yeah.
So I asked them, I was like, do you think I could punt and kick? They're absolutely.
Yeah. So
I started to try to teach myself. I was going to get with them and learn. Went out to do that, and they had me lined up as a linebacker. And I just walked away. So I tried to play other sports.
Yeah.
I know that's a long story to kind of get where I'm at, but I knew baseball was the way I was going to, get a scholarship. And the way I grew up, I knew I needed to get a scholarship to go to college.
Gotcha.
And I had a plan.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was no doubt of what I wanted to do from 5 all the way to when I was in college. I was going to play in the major leagues. That's it. That's all I kept saying from 5 on. I had a guy who I thought was my grandfather, ended up not being, long story, but he gave me a glove at 5, I believe, and said, hey, you're going to play in the major leagues one day.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm pretty sure he said with that glove, which was just not going to happen because that glove is terrible. But I believed it.
Yeah.
And I was that naive. I was like, of course I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to play in the major leagues.
Yeah.
So from that point forward, nothing was going to get in my way.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah, that glove would be a little snug.
I still have it. That's awesome.
It's
It's red and white. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's probably cool now, but back in the day, it wasn't cool.
Was it a Rawlings?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I don't even know if it has a brand.
Gotcha.
It may be from like 1920 and restitched together, so I'm not sure.
We've had a couple young men go and play like AA ball. Jacinto Arredondo got picked up by the Red Sox.
Okay, yeah.
And was down there and was had a great career for that. He didn't make it to the bigs. His family he had a baby with his wife, and they kind of came first, which is very commendable. And I told him, when we were off the air, I was like, dude, you did. I think you did the right thing. I mean, you did the unselfish thing. And
I think it's crazy you bring that up. One of the first kids I mentored, I was in college, and this kid was kind of a misfit. Grew up with a silver spoon, so he had kind of everything you could ever imagine. And he left my high school, went to another high school, and it was kind of his last chance.
Yeah.
And someone just threw him on me and said, hey, try to figure him out. And you saw the talent, you saw the ability, and man, we just started hitting. He ended up being state player of the year and got his girlfriend pregnant.
Cool. That's cool.
He got his girlfriend pregnant.
Well, I mean, that's
and instead of going to college, he took care of her, went and got a construction job. Yeah. And I'll forever respect it because he asked me, what should I do?
Yeah.
I said, follow your heart.
Yeah.
And then ask yourself in your gut, are you right? Yeah. And his gut told him one thing, his heart told him the other. He followed his heart. Yeah. And he did it. I think I got that backwards, but it's tough seeing that, but man, he made a manly choice. Yeah. And I really respect it. He's still doing well today. Had his ups and downs, but everything you do in life has a consequence, good or bad.
Absolutely. And
he realized that, and he made a decision, and he had to give up the game he loved. He didn't have to do that. Another kid I mentored that ended up doing some things that put him in a bad spot, and he actually chose to keep going and keep playing. He's still playing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It hasn't been easy on him, but
he
made some sacrifices and he did it.
Well, that's the thing is if you're able to make the sacrifices and make it work, but sometimes.
But family's always first.
Absolutely, I was going to say sometimes it's not worth it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you can have your dream and you can do what you had planned to do.
No doubt.
But there's always that saying you can. Tell God your plans, and he'll chuckle.
Yeah,
because that might not be his plan.
Man, one of my favorite stories that I've heard was from elite tacticians. So like Navy SEALs, Green Berets, and if you talked about any of these special operators, they go through years of training before they actually hit the ground.
Right.
And their training's awful, and I've done very little of their training to understand how like ridiculously dumb it can get. Mm-hmm. Nothing goes right. Yeah. Everything goes wrong in training, and they do that on purpose. Is
that Hell Week?
No. This is just normal training. It's like,
hey,
for example, hey, all we have to do is get that ammo can here, right? And they don't specify here. Right. So you bring it back here, and they're like, no, here. And there's a sign 2 miles away that says here.
Gotcha.
And it's like you never ask that question. And then they say, hey, just remember 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 minus 3. And you're like, okay, 2 plus 4 plus 5. Okay. You leave and you come back. Hey, what was the answer? And it has everything that happens has a consequence. And they said, this isn't life or death, but that's the reality. Everything you do, you have a consequence. And almost every guy I've ever met, and I was a military rep for about a decade when I played, where I would just do stuff military-wise, charity-wise.
Right.
And just about every one of them said, when I actually went and fought on the ground or did any like real exercise, I thought I did something wrong because it was so easy.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
The war part was the easy part.
Yeah.
And we talk about that as coaches.
Oh, yeah.
What's supposed to be the hard part?
Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah.
But we don't like do that because that makes you vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, that's not fun.
Well, not only that, you got 4 practices versus the 1 game.
Exactly.
I brought that up with another player that I had on the podcast, on Foreign Player, And I said, yeah, you got 3 days of practice and 1 pregame. It's that walkthrough. They love Thursdays. Thursdays the pregame. You walk through it. They're done in an hour, maybe. They sit down, they talk. They have a guest speaker. Normally, it's the pastor, another former player will come and speak. But yeah, you don't. One game is one game. You're not out there all week just doing that. So the hard part is during the week, and it's supposed to be the easy part is that, or vice versa. They say the easy part's practice. Whether your water is supplied by a public municipality or a private well, for residential or commercial use, Purified Water Services LLC has the solutions to provide you with simply clean water. We offer a complete line of professional water filtration equipment and accessories. Soft water makes a difference you can see and feel. Water heater and appliances last longer with less maintenance. Iron and H2S filters eliminate iron stains and offensive rotten egg odors and protects your water softener equipment from iron fouling. No matter what your problem is, Purified Water Services LLC has a solution. Contact Kenny Williams at 352-446-2709. But nobody likes practice.
I love practice.
Do you really?
I do.
Okay.
It's the only thing I miss.
The Fort loves practice. I just say that.
I do. And I think if I can look back and teach anybody, it's like learn how to be adaptable in practice.
Yeah.
When you actually get to practice, you should have already done your routine and everything else that you need to do to prepare for that practice.
Right.
Most of the time we show up to practice. No. Everything that you need to get done should be done. Whether it's if as a baseball player, all the little nuances with my mobility, my movement prep should be done prior to even touching that field. But also for me, it's like I need to have my bands done, my plyos done, and my cage work done. So when I walk into practice, it's time to compete.
Right. It's like a switch. You just kind of flip on and you just start.
Yeah. And if you have that switch, great. And some people do.
Yeah.
I had that switch when it came to practicing and working hard. Yeah. I didn't have that game switch that some people have. Yeah, sure, every now and then, but I don't want to rely on that. I want to rely on the work I put in. So then that fear acronym that you're talking about doesn't exist.
Right.
Because what's there to be fearful of if I've already faced all these things?
Absolutely.
Right. I remember later on in my career, I didn't practice the same way most people did. I hit with tears in my batting gloves. I hit with my shoes off. I hit in wet weather, wet balls, bad balls, everything that could go wrong and go bad, because that's what I noticed was the separator of me getting to the big leagues, staying in the big leagues. Is like, how can I adapt when everything else is going wrong?
Right.
Like everything in life is going wrong. For some reason, I would always play better.
Right.
Someone, God forbid, someone in my family would pass away. I'd come back, perspective would hit, and I would take off for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
Well, you can harness that.
Yeah.
And it's not that you need something bad to happen. It's just having that perspective and finding that reality on a consistent basis. And I don't think we do that good as human beings, let alone athletes.
Right.
And I think as coaches, we try our best to do that for the kids, but they have to do it for themselves.
Absolutely.
They have to take the ownership. And that's hard to get them to do, especially in today's time when they can go dig themselves because they're the best player in the district.
Right.
When reality is, as soon as they leave that district, that swimming pool or lake or actual ocean just keeps growing.
Oh yeah.
And they're out there by themselves. Yep. So if they don't own that, they're in trouble.
Sink or swim.
Amen. We've had a cool podcast. We haven't even really talked about like my story or anything else. This is fun.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed this so far.
Well, good. I'm glad you're
I'm very passionate about what you're talking about. So it was easy to go down that trail. And I wanted to say one thing about when you asked me about playing like other sports, there's this huge movement right now. Is like, don't be a one sport athlete. Don't do this. Listen, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Just don't fall in love with the movements.
Right.
Be an athlete, period. Right. If you don't have to play 3 sports, because I'll tell you right now, if I'm playing baseball and I'm only playing baseball, I'm going to be better than everybody else.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to get more reps. I'm going to get more opportunities, and I'm going to get more chances to be on the field, period. That's why Florida, Texas, California have the best baseball because they're on the field the most.
True.
Period. So everybody out there that thinks you have to play all these sports, until you're 14, 15, that's what the research shows. That's not what the research shows. The research shows be an athlete, play church league basketball, play pickup basketball, play flag football in unison or in parallel with your sport. You don't have to play it competitively to stay an athlete. And I think that's something that's miscued way too often. Just do things different. Go take karate. Go do jujitsu. Go learn yoga. Like, make sure your body is moving properly to where you don't get into weird stages where your hips are so tight because you turn one direction and you never turn the other direction.
Right.
That's why I do love football. I do love wrestling. I do love soccer because you have to move so many different directions consistently. I think it's really good for other sports. Like, I have a lot of my catchers do a lot of soccer movements to warm up their hips.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, man, I feel really loose. I'm like, yeah. And you just learned how to use your feet.
Yeah.
And how often are we going to have to use our feet in catching? And they're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, because all you ding dongs wear a size 13, but you're really a size 10.
Right.
Because they want to be cool, right? And you know what they say about big shoes or big feet, they wear big shoes.
Big shoes, yeah.
So, yeah, you just got to get adaptable and do different things.
Have you hit something I wanted to bring up? I don't know if I'm sure you have, because I feel like you're like a motivational kind of guy anyways. Have you ever heard of Jocko? Okay.
Good.
Okay. Yes. That's exactly when you were talking about that. I'm thinking, you're hitting with wet balls and you got elements, you got this. Good. And that's, if anybody has not seen that video, YouTube Jocko, good. And this whole thing is going to change your life.
Didn't get new gear we wanted? Good.
Good. Yeah. Didn't get the job you wanted? Yeah. Good.
High ankle sprain? Good.
Got hit by a truck? Good.
Exactly. But, all right, since you went that direction, every opportunity is an opportunity to either grow or fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even if you fall, that doesn't mean you're done. Yeah. You just have to get back up. And too often we look at an opportunity and something goes wrong, and we're so focused on the thing that went wrong, we're not looking at the play ahead. And I just had a camp recently, and one thing I kept saying was, don't expect what you think is going to happen. Expect what couldn't happen. Right. Possibly. Right. This will never happen. Right. Because they were like, you said 4 balls. And I was like, I had 6 in my hand.
Yeah.
I said 4 because it was the first number that popped in my head. Yeah. I'm not thinking about you and the drill of only 4 balls. I'm saying, is he going to finish? Yeah. And I'm the only person that can finish it. Oh, wait, no, you are. Yeah. Because when you said 4 balls, what did I do? Yeah. You stopped? I'm like, yeah. And what the next person do? They came up and they did as many as I threw. Yeah. I was like, just go until the drill's over.
Yeah, you get that in your head, and you're like, just like you said, you're going to take this from to here.
Yeah. And it's like 4, no, 8, good. Yeah. I got more work.
Exactly. When you said that earlier, I thought, what's the catch? Are they getting shot at or something? Like, all right, take this bucket over there while
some of those things I won't tell you. Yeah. We did some weird stuff.
Yeah.
But it was good. I wanted to learn an elite mindset. And I knew I couldn't go to Buds. I was still playing, but I wanted a version of that to understand myself. And I asked them to break me, and they did. Yeah. And I didn't break because of physical torment or mental torment. It was because they broke a friend of mine on a hill. Oh, wow. And I shared that, and he actually called me. He's like, dude, was that me? I said, yeah, that was you. He goes, I knew it. He goes, I literally thought I was going to die. He was up there throwing up, and he was just in a bad place, or at least I thought he was throwing up, having to go up this huge hill back and forth, carrying a med ball. And all I had to do was take a pistol, which I was pretty adequate at the time with the firearm, and hit a target 20 yards away, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't focus on it because I was worried about him. Yeah. And they said, that's the problem, is to focus on him. You think you're doing the right thing, but to just finish your job, he's okay. Yep. And how often as a coach, you're a quarterback, and we just watched, the Alabama game, and I watched their quarterback get destroyed the whole time. I was just thinking, like, if they don't keep him safe, nothing else is going to happen here. Absolutely. And you have to rely. And then you saw the anxiety start coming, the fear that we were talking about start coming that doesn't really exist. It's like, no. Just do your job the best you can. And if you can't, if you can be humble enough to say, hey, I'm getting beat, I need some help here, then you probably can fix it.
Catfish Johnny's Restaurant, serving the Lake Pennsauken and surrounding areas since 1990. For the last 33 years, we have strived to serve great food at great prices and a friendly, casual atmosphere. If seafood isn't your thing, our burgers or wings are the best around. We have daily specials too. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Pat's Taps at Catfish Johnny's. Pat's Taps is Lake Pennsauken's newest tap room, offering 14 rotating craft beers on tap. We also offer bottled domestic beers, seltzers, ciders, and wine, as well as a variety of appetizers and puff. Our family-friendly tap room is a great place to come hang out and enjoy some one-of-a-kind craft beer. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or the Untapped app. Why do you think it's so hard for people to ask for help? I mean, I know it must be pride, but I'm not talking about like financially. Just like just in general, just help. Like as you get older, you ever try to do something for an older person? They're like, I don't need your help. You're like, oh my gosh, okay. You know, I had my friend's grandmother. One time I tried to do something for her, and she said, "You just had to know the lady. She was a pistol." But she said, I don't need you to do a darn thing for me. And you're like, oh, okay. And she's like, can you hear me that right there? you're like, I don't know how to be right now. What do you mean? Is this a test or is it a trick question? Like, you don't want me to help you, but then you said, can you help me pick that up?
Yeah, I have a couple answers to that, but I think it first starts with pride and insecurity.
Yeah.
And it depends on that person's life. So everybody has a reality they lived in or still live in.
Yeah.
Most of the time we see the perceived reality. So we don't even understand that, like, hey, they've had money problems. So if you offer to help them,
right,
they, get that guard up and like, oh, I don't need your help. Well,
right.
That's actually not true. You do need my help. It would help you be somebody that maybe you're not. And then I think changing the focus would be the biggest thing for people. Is like, instead of saying, wow, why is this person trying to help me? Do they think they're better than me? No, right. Allow them to help. And the person that's helping should ask for nothing in return.
Absolutely.
And then if you want to pay it that forward or pay it back, then do it.
Yeah.
That's where the pride really comes in.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them. You don't have to say anything. Just do it. But allow people to help, because by allowing people to help, I think it just makes the world that much better of a place. Yeah. I mean, I think about the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't the preacher that stopped.
Yeah.
He had to get off the church and,
right.
and spread his message instead of showing his message,
right,
where the Good Samaritan did.
Right.
And I think allow people to be good to you. Absolutely. Allow people to love you, and then pay it forward or pay it back.
Yep.
I would assume most people would want you to pay it forward, but I think it goes that direction is the reality, the perceived reality. And then I also think our world has not talked about what real courage is in today's society.
Right.
And that's vulnerability.
Right.
The most courageous thing you can do, and if you go back to what the Latin word cora, it means vulnerability. So the greatest form of courage is vulnerability. So if we can be vulnerable and ask for help, where can that take us? And I'll tell you right now, people that do that and they ask for the right help.
Right.
It goes to a place you can't imagine, because you've made that decision. It's if you know anything about alcoholism or drug abuse, anybody that's addicted to anything, until they ask for help,
absolutely,
they're never going to get better.
That's why the first step is always admit it.
Admit it.
Yep.
And that's the thing. It's the same thing at a micro level when you think about your career.
Yeah.
Like, you can think you have it figured out and play the cool guy, but you're looking for affirmation. Yeah. Nobody's fooled by that. Go ask for help, and ask for help that have been there, that have done that, and not the people that are great. Like, right. I'm not going to Mike Trout to ask him how to hit. You know why? Because he's better than everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Ohtani.
Yeah.
Because he's not human.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask somebody that grinded their way to the top and got there.
Yeah.
What would you have done different to be better?
Right.
That's the person I want to ask. That's me personally. But like, you don't want to go ask a billionaire's son how to make money.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I get...
And not that he doesn't have insight.
Yeah.
But to really understand the ins and outs, go with somebody that had to really grind for it, but then also ask the person that didn't, and take in all of it, sift it like a gold miner, and then see what nuggets come out for you.
Yeah. I think a success story, you would get more out of that by just listening.
And what's success? I ask kids that all the time.
Yeah.
Define success. Define your success.
Yeah.
Some of the happiest, some of the happiest people I've ever met don't have worldly success.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't have a Lamborghini. They don't have a Rolls Royce. They don't fly private. They are a janitor. Some of the nicest and most humble people have the simplest jobs, but they don't need $100,000 to $300,000 a year. They need $50K.
Right.
They need their bills paid, and they need to love their family, and that makes them stoic in their mind. And that's it.
Yep. Yeah, I watched a video the other day about this young kid. I can't tell you where it was, but never had a birthday party.
Wow.
And they think about that.
Wow.
Think about just something that
little,
small,
but so big in the moment.
So
for
big
kids.
in the moment, right?
Could you imagine not giving your Muppet a birthday party?
I know.
He'd go bonkers.
I know.
He'd Muppet around.
But to see them actually do that, you're like, oh my gosh, you almost tear up because you're like, things that you take for granted every day, or every year. Well,
you're kind of leading me in, and you don't know any of these stories, so I think it's kind of funny. My sophomore year, I had, and this is in college, I had the trifecta. So I had MRSA and lost 45 pounds, and I had a form of MRSA in my throat that it ended up had to take out my tonsils.
Oh, wow.
Which, if you know anything about tonsillectomy, at anywhere above about 11,
it's risky.
It's risky and
Very
it's rare.
Risky, yeah.
It was an hour-and-a-half surgery, if that tells you anything.
Oh, wow.
And I was a case study because they'd never seen a throat like that. So I lost all this weight. I'm in the peak of my probably athletic conditioning at the moment because it's December. I'm home. So I have mono. They tell me I can't play. Ended up playing, hit 2 homers first game, and then really struggled after that. Then hit the ground running. But because my immune system was shot, I ended up having MRSA in my right knee.
Oh, wow.
If you know anything about MRSA, it's a malignant staph infection.
Yep.
As we get better antibiotics, it gets stronger and pushes those out and says, nah, that's not good enough. So I was on an IV for, I believe, 5 days and then oral antibiotics for 10. I was on the field before I was off the oral antibiotics, and I wasn't supposed to be. But I played, kept moving forward, and then I had knee surgery that fall. Again, so the trifecta.
Gotcha.
So all that to be said is that was my draft year. And I told you how to plan. I said I was leaving my junior year. I was going to be an All-American, and I'm out. Well, that looked really uphill. I was all conference the year before, fought like crazy, but I had a lot to do to get there. And I knew some of the things that I needed to do, but I knew I needed to take my training to the next level. And there's a guy named Charles Patron, who's now my mentor and like a big brother to me. Well, I've never been able to afford this guy. He's in Knoxville. So during the Christmas break, I'm like, all right, I know who I want to hit with. I know who I want to, work out with. And, if I'm working out with him, I'll be able to hit with Brett Carroll, who's a guy I looked up to as a kid, and he was older. He was in pro ball. So I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I call him, doesn't call me back. Call him, doesn't call me back. Call him, doesn't call me back. And I'm like, is he playing games with me? What's happening? So I call Brett. Brett's like, hey, call Michael. So finally get a hold of him. And I show up. He tells me to be there at 7 o'clock, I believe, or 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't open the gym till 9:30.
Oh.
And I think this is all games, looking back at it. And it was. He wanted to see how bad I wanted it. And he knew that I didn't have the means to afford him. And I think he'd been played so many times. He wanted to see if I was persistent enough. So I got there, thought was going to be 8:30. So I got there 30 minutes early. So I'm there at 8. We don't have anything till 9:30. So he opens the gym at 9:30. I'm just sitting there. I'm texting. I'm waiting. So I get in there and he throws me on a bike. And I call it the bike of death. And he says, just stay above 80 RPMs. I'm like, all right, 80 RPMs. If you've ever done that, it's really, really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, he'd just come over and click it up. Well, an hour and 20 minutes in,
you're like, wait a minute.
I'm cramping in my stomach. My face is cramping. I'm sweating bullets. And I didn't know what to think. And he said, good job. See you tomorrow. And I was like, I didn't work out. I just rode the bike. And he said, see you tomorrow. And I got there and nobody was there in the gym. I don't even know if he knows this part of the story, but nobody was in the gym. And we sat in his office and we came up and made a deal of how I could train. I gave up all my Christmas presents, asked my mom to match what I could match, and I was able to pay him for 6 weeks, ended up being an All-American and stuff round draft pick.
Wow.
So you talk about not having a birthday party.
Yeah.
That's a long story to get there,
Wow.
but this man had been played, had been pushed, had been pried, had been taken advantage of, and he was like, if he wants it, I want to see it.
Right.
I showed him, and because I did, I mean, he took a lot off of what it cost to work with him. Mm-hmm. And when I say he let me come to anything, if I showed up, he didn't ever make me leave. And still today, if I show up, he'd stay there all day with me.
That's
and
awesome.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, you find the people and you say, that's one. And you grab them and you pull them and take them. And sometimes you have to sacrifice the things that you want. For me, it was my Christmas for the greater thing.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to take time. I knew it was going to take a lot. But I went back to school. I put on 25 pounds. I looked like I was on steroids. And I went out and became an All-American.
That's awesome.
And they all thought I was on steroids, but I wasn't. I was able to be with somebody so advanced and so good. And with my work ethic, I listened to everything he said. And I took it not with like a grain of salt. I dumped that salt on top of me.
Yeah.
I said, give me more, give me more.
Yeah.
And he surrounded me with great players, great people. And I just kept going. So
that's awesome how you could just continue to, show up persistently. And that's, it's funny when you were telling me that.
You weren't sure where it was going, did you?
Well, no. I was saying when you were talking about that and you were talking about doesn't call. I'm kind of doing the same thing right now with my podcast.
Yeah. Big reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
Is you were persistent with me, and I respect that. So often people think that's annoying. And if it is annoying to that person, then that's just not your type of people.
Yeah.
But like I am a very, very busy person.
Yeah.
And I'm also very forgetful.
Yeah.
And I know those facts about myself. I overextend all the time. So people that are persistent with me always get the best version of me because I respect that. And my wife says I'm the definition of persistence will always tear down the resistance.
Yeah.
So I tell people that constantly, like, be persistent to a degree that you can pull back from. Because if you don't go too far, you never know what far is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's and I'm glad you said that too. Is about being persistent. Is I do think that I'm being annoying. Like I do think that I'm not giving you your space, your personal space, but I'm also so hungry about getting this podcast off the ground and getting it to higher levels or tiers that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna send you a text on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, Facebook. But but in the back of my mind, I'm like, don't disrespect someone's privacy or don't overdo it to where they're never going to do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So there is the range. You got to pull up. I pull back a little bit.
Or you'd be surprised how people come back when it goes well. And that's what you need to remember as you move forward. Because there's things I've tried to do in the past and people wouldn't answer. They didn't, even really give me the time of day. And I was persistent. I'm like, I am being annoying. And then I just got to the point where like, well, if this is successful, what's going to happen?
Right.
And sure enough, a lot of these people come back.
Right.
Or they ask me on theirs. And it's just like, just treat people the way you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
Do the best you can. If you're annoying, you're annoying. It is what it is. And you move on because if you're not persistent, you have to think other people are fighting for your time.
Right.
Fighting for that time for you to be able to do this.
Absolutely.
And, you stood out to me. And I appreciate it. And we're going to be friends for a long, long time because of this. And I think this will be successful because you are persistent. Well,
and I want to thank you for not only just saying that, but I've only met you twice before this.
Right.
So like I told you in the text, I'm just so appreciative. I'm like, thank you so much for just taking time out. That does not go overlooked by any means.
And you were very adaptable. You know what I mean? And I think that's something to be said is like people are trying to get into this realm. It's never about your time. It's about the guest time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I say that because I try to do that so wholeheartedly because I want to go on every podcast I can because I know people are trying to grow their brand. They're trying to do things. And also like I want to help every kid possible that's chasing a dream.
Yeah.
So you have to be adaptable. And that's what you were. This came together, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
2 days ago?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right before 2024.
Yeah.
And
it was last year.
Yeah. It actually came together last year.
Yeah.
But that's how it works.
Yeah.
And because of this, you have me, and then you have a really cool guest coming on right after me.
Yeah.
And that's because both of us have the same type of heart.
Absolutely.
We overextend,
Yeah.
but we can get it done with a little bit of adaptability, and that's exactly what you gave, and I can't thank you enough for it.
Thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part podcast. Check out full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.